bringing you the latest news, game updates, insights, highlights, and everything Liberty Hockey. This is Rock the Rink, where Liberty Hockey lives.
Welcome into Rock the Rink. Brett McGibbon here, along with the crew. Pleased to be joined by Annie Corey.
Thank you. I know. I was telling you guys it's an honor to be here. I'm a huge fan.
Typically our sideline reporter in broadcasts, and join us on the podcast here for second semester before we head to the Murdoch Cup, and then a little bit of hockey-less time when it comes to ACHA action. Finally, back to it. Men's Division I played this past weekend. We would have had a podcast last week, but we actually got some snow and decided to play it instead. So as we continue on here, Syracuse coming to town. The Flames take both games. Not overly pretty, I would say, in all truthfulness, but they do come away with 2 dubs and now have won 9 games in a row.
Yeah, it's been very impressive, obviously, for the 9-game win streak, and I feel like that was a good first game before the competition ramps up, right?
Yeah.
You play a former foe from the ESCHL in Syracuse who's kind of on the up and up. Like, I think they could still make some noise in their conference tournament.
Yeah, for sure.
And potentially get ranked before the end of the year and maybe make nationals. But yeah, I think it's a good first game for the team getting back, but the schedule just picks up even more from here.
Schedule definitely does pick up. Yeah, we were going over that a little bit last week in between our snow sessions of cancellations and early delays and all the like. But overall for me, not like you said, the prettiest or cleanest game kind of coming into it, but just focus on the things that we were doing well and just kind of keep building on that. Like a lot of time in the penalty box between both teams, but more likely than not, that stuff kind of phases out after your kind of first week. So if those things aren't factors into the game, a lot of great positive things to come away with.
Yeah, some of those positives. Calendike, 4 goals, 3 assists, had a tremendous weekend, hat trick in game 1. Thought Pomerleau had his best weekend as a Liberty Flame at the Division I level, and then everybody else kind of sprinkled through, looking pretty solid. Good to see Swanky get back on the board with a power play marker. Hunter, his typical Hunter self. I'm sure he'd probably he was on a stretch. I wish I had brought it, but over the past 4 games, he had a save percentage that was over 94%. Now it's going to be a little lower in these 2, and I know that was before Christmas, so it's hard to kind of extend that into it. But he was playing some great hockey before Christmas, and I think this was a good weekend for him to shake off the rust. But let's head to the power play, Annie. It was clicking.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I think talking to Jason Foltz after the game, after the midnight game, he was saying it was pretty weird, coming back from Finland after they had played those European teams where it's less physical, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into it with Syracuse, 44 penalty minutes the first night. And yeah, I think that he liked the way that they responded to that on the power play. What was it, 3 power play goals a night? It was crazy. And just the way that they were able to click there, they were happy with that. But then again, there's the other side of it where other guys don't get to play as much. You're on the PK more than you'd like to be, and it just kind of adds up like that. But yeah, I feel like the overall consensus was that it was just kind of an odd series, and they're happy to be moving on.
And that's a great point I think the women kind of experienced it a bit last year of coming off of practicing overseas, practicing on Olympic ice, playing on Olympic ice, and then kind of coming back when you think of, oh, this is great. They've been playing games. They have, but as we've kind of talked about a lot this year, when you're switching surfaces and rink sizes like that, it can be a little weird. It can be a little odd, right?
Especially for goalies.
Yes.
The angle game is totally different, and it's a nightmare. I hate Olympic ice, truthfully. So, it's just one of those things where it takes a lot. And also for defenders, your angle, the guy coming in off the boards, it does change the game tremendously. And that's a great point. It does take some getting accustomed to and kind of getting back into it. Here, I want some insider information. I know you probably can't tell me a ton, but Matt Bartell here, Kerr, did not play a regular shift in game 2, but did play special teams. Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's just one of those of saving some bodies and letting some other guys kind of get some reps.
Okay,
is what I would kind of word it. We were just kind of talking leading into it, and some other kind of matchups and stuff that we wanted to kind of get going for the weekend.
Yeah,
that kind of makes sense.
I think getting going is a good word because also first semester we talked about Olsen, Calendike, Barcelona.
Yeah.
since Bartel, Fultz, and Onbright have been back together, one of them has scored in every game.
Oh, yeah.
And during the 9-game win streak. Mm-hmm. That's huge, right? We said we needed another line to kind of be the factor. They've become it. And also, I know probably everyone looks more at their offensive side, but all those guys can play on the defensive end too. So, like, Liberty now has a solid top 2 pairing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think also just the depth of goal scoring on the weekend was really, like, that's something that you want to have to start off the semester. No one's going into, like, week 3 or 4. I haven't scored a goal yet this semester. I think it was of the 13 goals, 10 different guys, got one. And so I think that's really helpful, too. You had guys like Joe Clark with his first goal on the season. And then, I just think, that Schwenke, Gammer, like that line, they're really starting to, rear their head and show some stuff. So it's cool.
Yeah, good to see. I kind of wonder if this coming weekend here, we'll dive into Stony Brook in just a minute, but you kind of wonder if some of the guys that were in the press box from this past weekend will get an opportunity to jump in, like a Mason Smith, get his feet wet here in second semester, Legowski as well. We'll touch on that in just a few moments. Before we met with Kirk earlier today and talked to him. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, Fultz gets just railroaded from behind, and there's no call. Well, there is a call on it, but it gets evened out through it all with just a third man in and XYZ. But I love the response. I know that Cable and Bogenholm are probably like, oh, we can't wait to get back on the ice and play a meaningful game. And then it's like 5 minutes in, you're out for the weekend. But I love the way that they jumped in there.
Absolutely. It reminds me of Mighty Ducks #3 when one of the Bash Brothers comes back. Yeah. Wasn't there the whole season, comes in, gets kicked out within the first couple minutes of the game. It's like, what is happening?
The ladies love him. That second movie was the best one, though.
I agree.
Just total side note here. Have you ever watched? Have you watched them? Okay, yeah. What do you think, Annie?
No, I agree. Number 2.
Yeah. Julie Gaffney from Bangor, Maine was my crush.
Does it upset you though that Team Canada is not represented in the second?
Yeah, I don't get that. I guess they wanted to try to keep it somewhat realistic. So,
I would feel like it's not realistic.
That's true. No, that's a great point. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't get it. You're playing against Jamaica. No, it's Trinidad and Tobago. That's what it was. Well, yeah. So
some island.
Yeah. Just random. I remember they had the real colorful jerseys, and Buddy was doing flips and spins. I'm like, what are they? This is like a different style of hockey down there. Like whatever they're playing.
Here's Belafonte across the blue line with a great move. Walks right down the slot and shoots and scores.
All right. I didn't know anything about hockey, so it's just like, every team's every country's got a team.
Man, I can't wait to see the knuckle puck in the NHL.
Exactly.
How do I do this on NHL 96?
Team USA's newest member from Los Angeles calling for the puck. He gets it.
It's knuckle puck time.
He winds up. He scores.
All right. Well, as we continue our conversation about men's Division I hockey, thrilled to be joined by head coach of the Flames, Kirk. Kirk, great to see you.
Thanks for having me in.
First off, how was your Christmas? Good?
Oh, it was great.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Good
great.
stuff.
I was around here with our family, but we actually had some Canadian family come down and spend some time with us. So it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. And speaking of Christmas and Christmas break, Kirk, the men's Division I team was able to head over to Hämeenlinna, Finland, and the surrounding areas for the missions trip. Is that correct?
Yeah, you actually say Hämeenlinna.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Where I'm slightly
retake
not not up to date on my Finnish. And so when we think of this missions trip, Kirk, when we think of Liberty hockey fans, we have the fans, then we have the true fans. Right, the true fans who would know Coach Jonathan Chung, the name of his dog. You know what I mean? True fans. And so we headed over there, and there was quite a few that went over with significant others. And we know from spending time on a missions trip, not as much sleep. It's a lot of work. It could be kind of rough. So what the true fans want to know, Kirk, is how did Jared and Megan do on the missions trip while they were over there?
Yeah, let's just say our guys gave them a hard time quite often.
Okay.
One time, Meg sent to the group chat, which it was pretty funny. She did.
Yeah.
Hey, who has 29A? Which obviously everyone knew she was trying to get Jared beside her. So it started a flurry of messages back and forth on who
perfect.
actually had 29A.
Oh, I love it. Oh, perfect. And they went in, boyfriend, girlfriend. Did they emerge, boyfriend, girlfriend as well?
Yeah, I was giving them a hard time. I said, look, we got Tim Witt and Angie Witt on the mission trip.
Mm-hmm.
They do premarital counseling, so they can.
Oh, all right. There we go. That's
Two birds
perfect.
with one stone.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then as far as like the actual trip goes, I mean, you guys have been on these kinds of trips before, and you've been on it with different teams. And I know that just from talking with people on the team, like they feel like this trip brought them so much closer together. Could you just talk about from a coach's perspective how much tighter you saw it bring your group of guys?
Well, to go on a trip like this, first of all, you have to have an incredible amount of coordination between our alumni and our development office and our coaches, our players, their families, because our goal is to have everyone go on this trip. It's a very, very expensive trip, and so because of that, fundraising is a big part of it. So even before you get on the trip, you got to worry about the fundraising. But boy, when you go on the trip, it's life changing. And we had 5 guys get baptized. 1 guy gave his life to the Lord. We had a ton of guys, including coaches and staff, and even if my wife or she'd say the same thing, like, you grew in your faith from being over there. Right? You grew in your faith from just seeing the impact and the way that the platform that God's given us, the game of hockey, can impact His kingdom in such a positive way. And for me, the encouraging thing was back when we went 4 years ago to today, just how much our foundation has grown in Finland and and with Dave Pike and Sports Link and his church and all that stuff, and with HPK, the hockey club over there. It was just real exciting to see kind of the growth that had taken place. In fact, I'll share this one story. We went 4 years ago with one team. We played them. We gave them Bibles and hats after the game, and then we went to a restaurant and had dinner. And that was the extent of it. This time, 4 years later, the same coach, we exchanged Bibles. Even before the game, there was talk, hey, I'm not sure if these guys want to go eat supper because it was at the church. And so the game ended. We gave them all Bibles and hats. They prayed with us, and then they pretty much all came to church, and parents and coaches and stuff like that. So it was encouraging for us to see, just in 4 years, the trust and just God at work in Finland.
That's really awesome to hear. You touched on this briefly, but a lot of times on missions trips, a team will go and the focus is to impact others. But then really when they come back, they realize there was a major impact on themselves. You said guys got baptized, one gave his life to the Lord. Can you go a little bit deeper into that with just like the transformation you saw in your own guys? Yeah,
and you see it every time we go. We've been to Sweden, Latvia, China, Russia, Finland twice now, and once with the women's team since 2007. Yeah. And, it's incredible. We always think we're going there to serve others. But, about day 3, day 4, when Chris Bladen started talking to us about getting baptized, that was one of the big catalysts for other guys saying, hey, well, I wouldn't mind doing that same thing. And it spurred on a lot of conversation in our own guys. And again, don't forget, we're out there serving, but then we're coming home 9 o'clock at night, and really between 9 and kind of 2, 3 in the morning when guys are continuing conversations. There's a lot of great conversations going on. And when we're over in Finland, they aren't thinking about school. They aren't thinking about a lot of other distractions that they have. So it allows them really to focus in on why we're there and see the impact of what God's doing in and through us over there.
Oh, great stuff. Is there any names over there that are like feet in the ground before you guys arrived that did some tremendous work that maybe you'd like to mention?
Well, Dave Pike, we're actually going to get him and his family. They're supposed to come over this fall, him and his wife, but we're going to try and get his whole family to come over this next fall. And really, he's blessed us so much. We want to bless him with bringing him and his family over here and them getting to see Liberty. They're a real part of our family here, and so he's a big one. But some really new people we met over there. One thing I would change next time we go over there is I would have every practice run by Finnish coaches. Why? Because the impact that's going to have on them and on our guys. I think of one gentleman. He was the Rane was he's one of the top Finnish coaches of all time. 3 times he was coach of the year in Finland.
Wow. He
came and ran our practice at 72 years old. And boy, this guy, he was energized by it, he was excited by it. But the night our guys got baptized, he got invited. He got invited to come and to see it. And he got so encouraged by what was going on. The one guy joked with him about running the practice. Said, well, I haven't run a practice in 10 years. But he ran our practice, and it really encouraged him and encouraged our guys. And at that same practice, we had 2 other Finnish coaches there with him, and just really, great to see how much of an impact we can make, even in a situation like that.
That's awesome.
And mention too the sending team that we have here at Liberty. Some of the people within club sports are also sending the team along there.
Yeah, well, obviously Josh Rutledge and his whole staff with LU Send is incredible. We worked there as Hannah over in the LU Send department, but internally with Josh Graham and Reese Brabant and Jackson Verslano, there were some really, really great things that they did ahead of time. And interesting enough, Reese has been on every trip. He wasn't on this one. So it was great. We had, there were no hiccups and everything worked out great. I will say on those missions trips, even though you have a great plan,
never goes 100% correct.
It doesn't.
Right?
And God's plan and God's purpose always prevails. And I think about that verse in Proverbs. And what I mean by that is these new opportunities pop up, like this coach who we didn't even know. There were 3 coaches over there who came and worked with us who we didn't even know were going to be out on the ice with us. So just things like that happened are God moments, and moments you realize that God's got the whole script and the whole plan together on his end.
Yeah, and you brought up how Chris Bladen kind of sparked the conversation around the baptisms, and that looked to me like one of the most touching parts of the trip. Could you kind of detail a little bit more how that whole night came to be?
Yeah, well, I mean, Chris decided to get baptized, and then Ryan Finch got saved that night, and then he said, "Hey, I want to get baptized." And Ben Barnett, our stats guy, he had said ahead of time, like, if Chris gets baptized, I'm waiting for an opportunity to get baptized too. I think this is a perfect opportunity for me. And then Calendike decided to get baptized. The interesting part was we had that baptism, and the very next day, Cam Ottenbright came to me and said, "Hey, look, I wouldn't mind getting baptized. I should have got baptized last night. I didn't get baptized. I want to get baptized." And it's 10:30 at night. We're sitting in McDonald's, and Dave Pike says, Chris Kerr didn't hear we're sitting in McDonald's, but we're sitting.
We'll talk about that later.
Establishment, and Dave said, "Why don't we go back to the hotel and baptize him in the pool?" Well, the pool water there's about 50, 60 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, it's freezing cold. And Dave had to borrow a swimsuit and stuff. He jumped right in there, and we had in there baptism service that night. Wow. So it was kind of it was that really 24-hour period was a really awesome part of it.
Yeah, wow.
It's really cool to see the Lord move through Liberty hockey on this trip. You come back home, and it's time to get to work, right? You take on Syracuse. Can you break down this weekend series that you saw a lot of special teams play, that's for sure.
We did, and I was kind of laughing with my wife here. Now I'm like, okay, we're getting over jet lag, and then we decided to have a midnight game on the Saturday, the first weekend back. So we kind of get our clocks figured out, and then we mess it up again. So, but yeah, I thought there was too much specialty teamwork. To be honest with you, I think that's one of the areas that we're really gonna have to clean up as we go down the stretch. Is we can't be in the box as many times as we were this past weekend. And regardless if you like the calls or don't like the calls, they were called. So we got to deal with that, and we got to be better as a team. Look, I really like, I told our guys on Saturday night or Sunday by the time we finished the game, I really like, how we battled. It wasn't perfect. We made mistakes. But we still got the job done, and we continued to move forward, and we continued to stay on the roll that we're on before Christmas, and really, interesting enough, we scored 13 goals, 6 were on the power play.
Yeah.
When you score 3 power play goals each night, the power play was humming for us. So, great job to Coach Dan and the guys he had out there. They were executing really well.
Good. And so when you're thinking of that and kind of moving forward, what are the conversations just about staying out of the penalty box, right? Like, we've been working together for a while. It seems to be sometimes a theme. And then all of a sudden there's like a switch as we head towards the postseason where guys kind of shut it off, right? And so what are conversations? Is it just, hey, first weekend back, the jitters, playing a little tougher, gripping the stick a little bit, or are there conversations that kind of happen along those lines?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, we had a meeting with the coaches yesterday, and for us, I think we want to get them to define for us what good penalties are and what bad penalties are, right? And we don't want to take any bad penalties. I think that's a big thing. And bad penalties a lot of time are the ones after the whistle. A lot of times the reactionary ones, ones in the offensive zone. those are ones that that we want to avoid as we move forward. And so for us, like, we have 5 main game goals, and one of them is that we don't want the other team to go to the power play more than 3 times in a game. So, for us to have doubled that is not good. Out of 21 games we played so far, only 2 times in the 21 games have we had 3 or less penalties. So it's an area that we know that we need to clean up going into nationals, and that's really what these next few games are, is to really refine our game as we go down the stretch.
Yeah, and I love it. You're always right there with all the stats, all the numbers, always precise. So take the fans for a moment into we don't practice yesterday. We have film sessions, right? I think some people might like to hear just a little bit into it. Don't give away too much of what we're going over and all that, but just kind of give the fans an idea of like the day in the life of the coach and the player yesterday.
Yeah, so yesterday is definitely a reset day from video, and we also give our guys option to go out in the ice, obviously to go in the gym with you as well, kind of get their bodies feeling right to go and get all of our medical needs kind of straight, so we kind of know who's going to be in the lineup this weekend stuff. But really, the video, how we've been doing is breaking down each line at a time, having them watch their shifts from 1 to 2 games and the D pairs. And, the interesting part is it's not only watching their shifts, but it's talking to them. It's hearing what they're saying, and it's us telling them what we're seeing. And really, like, creating healthy communication from the coaches to the players, and really, listen. At the end of the day, we're all in this thing together.
Yeah,
right? Coaches aren't going to solve the problem without the players. Players aren't going to solve the problem without the coaches. We all need to work together and need to try and find those things that we can improve on to become better.
Wonderful, love that.
Going back to the penalty issue real quick, Fultz gets boarded.
Yeah.
How did you like the response from your guys?
Yeah, the response is great,
Yeah.
right? Laz has to jump in there. I mean, that's a dirty hit, and those ones aren't the ones that you don't want to see in hockey. But I like the response. I felt bad for Laz and Reed. They been out for a long time, and they come back and play 5 minutes. They don't even get through the whole first period, and they're up in the stands. So, but it was a response our team needed, and that's one of the things where you see our guys coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you look at the weekend that Jacob Kalendijk had. I mean, hat trick first night, another goal the second night. I mean, it seems like he's having the best year of his Liberty career so far. How have you seen that development year by year? And I feel like, Coach Kerr, you could probably talk about this too, just how you see him off the ice, like the way that he carries himself that's really allowed him to have a breakout year like this.
Well, I think a big part of it is he's not as hard on himself as he used to be. I mean, he still has a high standard for himself, and he still expects a lot of himself. But I really feel like he's matured emotionally in his game, and mentally, I feel like he's really we've really seen some great growth in that. One of the other things I think has been a key contributor for him is playing with Jackson and Truitt. I mean, they've been. I remember one time last year we had a rough stretch. I feel like they only played about 2 or 3 games last year where I didn't think that they were very good. And I remember after one of the games, like, contemplating a change, and they kind of like, I think that we're still in a good spot, and just to have guys like that who come to play and battle every night with you, and who are not up and down and riding a roller coaster. Like Jackson and Truitt are 2 guys who show up every night, have got a great mentality, have a very mature part of their game that really helps out other people. And I think if Jacob were sitting here with us, I think he'd say the same thing, like, hey, it's the people who I have around me and stuff like that that really helped me.
Funny story on Jacob, his first year here at Liberty. Let's just say it was October, November, and he's asking me some food-related questions, and then he comes up with, well, I only score in games after I eat a steak from Shakers, so what am I supposed to do when I'm on the road? It's like, oh, boy. Fortunately, he's grown out of that and matured a little bit, and now anything on the plate will help him have a good game.
Good.
Yeah.
Kirk, in the history of Liberty hockey, is he the best release that you've coached?
Oh, he would be up there.
Yeah.
I think Luke Hannon. Luke had an unbelievable. I remember one time Luke we were playing Davenport, and the Davenport coach is like, we just can't stop that guy. I think of Brent Boschman and
I was thinking
Rick
McComb.
Turner, Macomb.
Yeah.
They're all guys who have. But I mean, I just love Calendar because he's got better every year,
Definitely.
and he's continued to want to get better every year, and I think his desire to want to get better is what drives him.
Before we let you go, we look ahead to this weekend. You head up to Long Island. It's going to be cold, and the Rinks is always a fun place to play.
Yeah.
What do you expect out of Stony Brook?
Well, Stony Brook's always a great quality opponent. I mean, they aren't having the year that they want to have this year, but they always play well, and I think we just have to keep it simple. We have to keep our game simple. We can't overcomplicate it and then hurt ourselves. So, I think to that extent is getting back to pucks. It's clean breakouts over ends, going through the neutral zone well. It's getting pucks in deep. It's really us taking our game to another level. And that's what we're really challenging our guys on is, hey, let's continue to evolve as a program, continue to build. We have now 10 games left before we go to the national tournament. And, 40-some days from now, we're going to be at the national tournament. So it's not a long stretch here, and we need everyone dialed in. We need everyone focused. And I really believe that missions trip and just, what our guys have been going through this year, and we're starting to see our guys come back. I'm starting to see a full team now. I think you're really starting to see, and you will see the best of our program as we go here.
All right, great stuff. Kirk, always good to have you on. Let's make it a date now. We'll get you on before national tournament time.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounds
Perfect.
good. All right, just like that, Pat Strong back with us. Pat, like Kirk said, Stony Brook, I don't care where you're at in the rankings, and hard to believe they're not ranked. Or they're ranked, but it's not in the top 25 or top 10, which we're accustomed to them being in. But this is still a tough weekend. You head up there, Long Island. The Rinks is not an easy place to play, and Liberty has to be ready to go.
Yeah, they do. Obviously, whenever it's a rival, everything's out the window.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the rankings are. It doesn't matter if one team's been undefeated or has a long stretch versus the other team dominating them. Those things always go out the window, especially like you said, at the Rinks. And Liberty in past, that's even if they've won the season series, they've always had a close game or drop one up there.
And Garofalo's a mover and a shaker. Who knows what he could have brought in over Christmas break,
That's
right?
what I was going to mention.
Yeah, that's I didn't even think about that until right now. But yeah, you've got to be ready to go.
For sure. It's, we've mentioned it. The Rink's tough place to play. Stony Brook coming off of a split with Drexel, but Stony Brook has been known to bring in a few horses second semester. I just remember years and years of, all right, should be good, and then we end up with a split, right? We drop a game. So we cannot take Stony Brook lightly, no matter where they are kind of in the rankings.
And their 10-2 Kozanov is he's their horse in between the pipes, and he can, if he has a hot night, he can make life really difficult on you. But as Kirk was saying, you just want to play a simple game. Stay out of the box. It'd be great if they could achieve their team goal of 3 minor penalties or less, or 3 power plays against or less in a game, because that would go a long way against the Stony Brook team. Yeah,
and I think also just getting consistent goal scoring from some guys who had a nice weekend against Syracuse. I think the last time that Liberty played Stony Brook, Gammer had 2 goals, Schwenke had 2 goals, Bartel had a hat trick. So if you can get some of those veteran guys really rolling as you head into, you have Adrian coming up next. You want to get, your top lines, racking up some production.
Yeah, and like you just said, obviously it's about not only consistency, but then also starting to get into some good habits, right? Because after you play Stony Brook, the rest of the schedule's top 10. Right?
That's
and
right.
More than likely, you will, if you're trying to head to the national championship and win your first Murdoch Cup, there's a chance you're going to play 1, if not 2 of these teams that you have left on the schedule.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a very good point. Yep, last warm-up. It's crazy to think of Stony Brook as a warm-up, but before the big dogs come to town, and we're what we mean as Adrian following weekend coming into Lynchburg. Star Wars weekend, right?
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
There's Star Wars. There's a Rock and Glow night after that.
Rock and Glow?
Niagara, it's more like an 80s theme.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Our time, me and Rhett's time.
That's right. Yeah. Power Rangers. Let's go. All right. We'll touch more on men's Division I next week, obviously, and their results from their battle against the Seawolves. Moving our attention to women's Division I, a split versus HTI. That's the Hockey Training Institute out of Canada, a quality program there. Flames win game 1 4-0, and then game 2 was a wild one. They fall down big, battle back, and then eventually lose in a shootout.
Yeah, I remember because I knew you two weren't going to be at the game. I was messaging you both.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, my goodness. I was like, I don't know if it's happening, guys. It's over. And then somehow in the second period, they have a flurry. The Lady Flames come back after being down 4-0. Find a way to actually get the go-ahead, but then HTI, like you said, very talented squad. They score late in the third, and then for fun, they decided to do a shootout after overtime, and HTI comes out with the winner.
Yeah, when I saw I wasn't able to watch the game, so when I saw the stat lines of lost in a shootout, I was like, whoa, what? I've been around for a while. I never see the ladies end up heading into a shootout. So first game, we take care of business. Second game, just it is what it is when you play top teams and top opponents. They can put the goals in real quick.
Yeah.
But I love the response, being able to come back, have the lead at one point, and then end up going into overtime and shootout.
Yeah, I think it's obvious to say that was probably the worst period they've played all year, that first period. And key reason why, like in the offensive zone at the blue line, they kept turning the puck over, and then it would led to transition offense for HTI, and then boom, they would either get a clean shot or they would get a shot on net, be able to cash in on the rebound. And that, I think that period and that whole game is just great tape for them now moving forward when they head into ACHA play.
Yeah, very good point.
Big weekend coming up for them as they take on 3 teams, McKendree, Lindenwood, and Maryville. And I'll say this, I think this is a pivotal little tournament for them because the rest of the league is like, oh, the door is open. It's not wide open, but there's a crack in the door that's been sealed shut for the last 5 years. Liberty can shut it a little bit with a really strong weekend to play.
Yeah, and I think it's also really encouraging to see Carly Glover and Unique Truder back out there. They had a good weekend. I think there was Unique had the assist and Carly had the goal in their second game, I think it was. But I mean, those 2 girls are so tough. Then obviously Unique's, the captain. She, you want to see her back out there, and so I think that's super encouraging going down the stretch. And then also the takeaways from their loss. I think, Coach Graham had mentioned it was just an odd game. And I think even on one of their goals, they were on the PK and Aislinn Stretch fell down, and that's how, she just went right by her and scored a goal. And so I think that they were like, okay, we're kind of glad that we got that out of the way, and now we can focus on this weekend. You have bodies back, really important contributors, so should be good for them.
It's extremely difficult to be at the top, stay at the top for forever. But it's nice to have a little, some things cooked in there of when we were playing these games in the fall. A lot of the games were without Carly. A lot of the games were without Unique. So kind of like you said, Rhett, pivotal weekend. Let's just kind of come back into ACHA play, have all the horses in the stable, so to speak, and then really kind of start to put it together. And to your point there too, Pat, of the second HTI games, hopefully it's just an awakening for the team of we can't make mistakes. So we really have to be focused because teams will score. They will capitalize on those mistakes.
Yeah.
Again, that weekend series coming up here in just a few days' time, 25th through the 27th. Lady Flames again taking on McKendree, Lindenwood, and Maryville. All right, Kerr's Korner. We've had our fun over Christmas break. We've eaten our cookies and hot chocolate, all that good stuff. Now it's time to get back to being healthy.
No, this is perfect. And so we're kind of going a little slightly different direction than I had originally planned for 2024, just because this was one that was presented to me. So I received a text message last week. My ear exploded. I have stitches. Here's kind of what's happening. So it's a non-Liberty hockey player took a shot to the ear in practice by their coach, and pretty much they look like a wrestler walking around right now. They're one
cauliflower.
One ear is massive, tons of stitches and antibiotics, and that for me is always kind of a big heads up there. So when you take antibiotics, they're phenomenal. They keep you alive. They're necessary, and it just wipes out all the potential bad bacteria in your body. what they also do is wipe out all the good bacteria in our body. So we've discussed previously the microbiome, right? That's kind of just your stomach, your intestine, and it's the balance of good and bacteria within it. So there's foods you could eat to kind of build it up, and there's foods you could eat that kind of destroy it. So my advice to this young man, as he just went through an antibiotic treatment or is still undergoing it, is you need to drink a lot of kefir, you need to eat a lot of sauerkraut, and you need to eat a lot of Greek yogurt. Not the most enjoyable or palatable for a young high schooler. However, just incredibly necessary to rebuild up that stomach and rebuild up the good bacteria. So my suggestions were sauerkraut, I get it, it's not great. Mix it in with other things, eat it with eggs, whatever else, so you kind of don't taste it as much. And then the other recommendation, we've kind of talked about this before, at night for your sort of dessert, I know I participated in this last night, frozen berries with your yogurt or kefir on top. If you remember from back in your childhood, or maybe last night or over Christmas, the magic shell, you'd pour that over ice cream and it would harden up. That's kind of what the yogurt or the kefir does as well. And then as you're eating that dessert of frozen berries and kind of your fermented dairy there, your yogurt acts as your yogurt acts as the probiotic, which is delivering and feeding into you the good bacteria, right? So it's full of good, healthy bacteria. And then the frozen berries are a prebiotic, or in other words, that's the kind of food that will keep the probiotic bacteria alive. So it's kind of a double whammy there. It tastes great and it's great for you. So antibiotics, you have to get on those fermented foods. You have to get your probiotics in.
All right, good stuff. I can handle some frozen berries and a little kefir.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No.
You get the little organic bag from Target and you're dialed in, ready to go.
You're raring to go.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Men's Division 2, bit of a tough weekend at the Miami of Ohio Showcase. They fall to Florida Gulf Coast 3-0, and they lose the season series 6-5. They won 3-0. Hold on, let me get this straight here, Pat. Give me the stat line there.
All right, they lose the season series 4-0.
Oh,
but the games are they lost 6-5, then 3-0, then 6-5, then 3-0.
Gotcha. Okay. Then they win versus Concordia 6-2, lose to Lindenwood 4-2. So not the showing you'd love to have coming out of Christmas break, but you are playing against some pretty stiff competition there as well.
Yeah, really are. Obviously, each team currently ranked in the top 3 of the respective regions. Concordia, I believe, was 3rd. Lindenwood, number 1 in the Central, and then FGCU currently number 1 in the Southeast. And yeah, it's just a tough showing for Liberty. I think obviously the FGCU game, very tough because they know they've been so close versus them multiple times. Then you have a good win versus Concordia, who have one of the better offenses in ACHA D2. And then Lindenwood, you're up 2-1, I believe, going into the 3rd. And unfortunately, you can't get it done. You drop it 4-2, which is just a tough showing for them. But, I mean, still a lot of hockey left. And it looks like for them, unfortunately, I think this was a big showcase for them. But for them, it looks like the path to regional
bound
probably going to be happening. And we've touched on it, debated on it. I'm sure we'll touch on it and debate it again, but might not be the worst thing for them.
Yeah, and I think you talked about that Lindenwood game. I feel like that was the biggest heartbreaker on the weekend because I think it was with 3 minutes left in the 3rd is when they scored to I think it was to make it 3-2, and then they scored an empty netter to make it 4-2. So you're looking at, we're going to go into overtime. We have a really good chance at winning this one, and you could walk away from the weekend 2-1.
Yep.
So I think that was coming away from that. That was the biggest heartbreaker. FGCU was what it was. They've been so close before, but yeah, I think that's one that stings the most.
There's something to be said heading in, especially into the spring semester, of being battle-tested, battle-ready. There's no doubt in my mind our D2 team will for sure be one of the most. I mean, how many different showcases have they played, or how many head-to-head games against just top heavy hitters? What I want to see between now and most likely regionals is you got to start coming away or keeping these games closer,
right?
But try to find a way to win, in my mind, just for the confidence.
Yes.
Right? So the confidence of, hey, theoretically on paper this team's ranked higher than us, or we dropped 1 or 2 to them. But if you could come in and split a series or sweep a series against these teams, tremendous confidence going in. Yeah. It's hard to get it done when you haven't gotten it done before. Not saying it can't happen, right?
Yeah.
We've all seen that, but I want to really see that. And I think just the work ethic and just the intensity and effort they bring on and off the ice, I think they'll get the job done.
I think, to that point, I believe is why regionals could be a really big benefit for them, because you come away, you win, you're like, oh, we can do this now. Like we've gotten those big wins, we know how to win in crunch time. So we'll see. Yeah. This is gonna be an interesting talking point throughout the rest of the semester.
Yeah. I will say biggest thing for them too, because like you just said, the regionals could build them up. You're getting your captain back.
Yeah. I was gonna say the bodies
back
too.
in the next week or two. And if you can get Josh Harrell going, we all know he's one of the best two-way forwards
for sure.
I would say in the ACHA. He would have cemented himself in an All-American status had he not got hurt opening weekend. And now you get him back, it's gonna bring a different confidence having him back in the lineup.
And just work ethic. Like Josh works his butt off. It's incredible. And so there have been a lot of bodies in and out of the lineup for this team. And so hopefully now the consistency will start to take place, and some guys that were carrying a heavier load that could kind of be distributed out a little bit. Everyone's a little fresher. I think good things in the future for them.
All right, men's Division II. Next time they're on the ice will be against Keene State, 10-3 on the year. Last season, the men won all 3 games against them, 7-3, 6-2, and 4-2. And so we'll keep an eye on that and bring you the scores next week. All right, men's Division III taking on their old rival in CNU, the Captains, and I don't know if it's a rivalry anymore. 13-0 and 11-0 are the scores as men's Division III. Sink the captain's ship. That was quite the onslaught there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because going back to when you coached them, those were battles.
Oh, they were.
Yeah. So
that game, like whoever won, probably is going to regionals, right? Like that's how important that those games were. And like now you're just like last couple times they played them, you're just like, woof,
it's rough.
Yeah. So good for D3, like we said, they were too talented of a team to kind of be on the skid that they are, and now they're finally finding their groove, finding their rhythm. So that's huge. I think, too, Kerr and Rhett, you talked about it. Last semester, they couldn't get in the rhythm because of all the games.
Oh, it's just so sporadic.
Yeah. Now they are about to play a ton of games in a row versus some good teams. So I think that's huge, too. And, Trevor Granzow joins the 100-point club. A lot of Flames a lot of Flames have joined, but rare club across the board in Liberty hockey.
Flames will now take on College of Charleston. They sit at 3-3. Liberty beat them 10-2 and 10-1 last season.
Yeah, and I just want to add something to that really quick. I was there for game 1 of that series, and watching Trevor Granzow, what he was doing out there. I don't know if it was the goal that made it his 100th point, but one of his goals was just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he just looked like he was on another level out there on the ice, and it was crazy. I think he had 5 goals on the weekend, something
5 goals,
pretty
3
crazy.
assists, yeah,
and then also I don't think CNU was there without a coach. They didn't have a coach there.
Oh, okay.
And so it was this. My friend, she was doing the interviews for the game, and she was like, I just went up to the guy on the bench and he said, my name's Will, ask me the questions. And she's like, okay. He's like, I'm Coach Will. And it was just one of the players who was injured that week.
Gosh.
So, part of you felt for them. They're out there kind of.
I don't think that's technically legal in ACHA play. I think you're have to mandatory have a legitimate coach on the bench.
It's good they're in the AAU then.
That's a good point. I see what you did there.
I got another this is D3 related question, and this is kind of more of a poll for the panel here. Pat, Rhett, you guys have been around Liberty hockey for a long time. Annie, you're very in depth with what's going on. I've been here nearly a decade. I want you to think long and hard on this one. Is there a more well-known or more infamous player in Liberty hockey within the last, let's just say, 5 years than Mikey Williams?
Oh. Is there more?
A more well-known...
throughout the history of...
In the last 5 years, walking around this campus, talking to people, is there a player more well-known?
No, there's not.
Okay.
He's the guy.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. because he's just like always saying, "Hey." It's funny. I know his family pretty well. Like,
Okay.
I met with him back so like my second stint of coaching was kind of when he was thinking Liberty, and at that time, like I don't know if he would have made D3.
Yeah.
Like truthfully, and then he went and played junior and he got a lot better, and like he's a beauty now. Like he knows he is so. You don't get many guys like this, and this is a huge compliment to him, but he knows who he is at the Division III level. Like, that's amazing in itself. You get guys that go and play D3, and they're like, I'm on D3. I'll be a top scorer.
Yeah.
Like, but he knows, like, I'm going to chip in a few goals here and there, but I'm, like, the PK guy, and I'm, like, the heart and soul of the team. Like, love that kid to death. Yeah. I like how he reminded me here and there, just like, remember when you told me I might not make D3, so I need to go to junior. Look at me now. And I'm like, good for you. Like, I'm like, good for you, though. Like, he's playing well, so
Just
no.
Over this winter break, working concessions with him, like, this guy knows everybody.
Yeah. Oh, he does. Yeah.
Anyone
He could run for
everyone.
mayor
Yeah.
in Lynchburg and
I
win.
agree.
Like, yeah.
I was like, I think he might be the face of, like, what people think. Oh, hockey? Do you know Mikey Williams?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
great
he just
kid.
knows everyone.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I agree because I don't know him, but I know of him.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's just infamous, well-known player. I'm
Super friendly. Like,
Yeah.
just he's a great face for Liberty hockey, truthfully. Like,
For
he's
sure.
just a good kid. Great kid. All right, Women's Division II, tough weekend against Navy, fall 2-1, and then 3-2 in overtime. That was a heartbreaker for them.
Yeah, I think the 3-2 in overtime was real tough because you're up 2-1 most of that game. And unfortunately, just can't close it out. There's a reason why Navy consistently has been in the top two of the Southeast regional rankings for years. And they find a way to finish it. And that's what they were able to do. Hats off to Liberty's goaltender, Hotston. She played lights out both games, right? Like, she was phenomenal, put them in a great position to be able to win those games. But unfortunately, they couldn't do it. But she's a young goaltender. This is a young team. Future is still bright because I'm sure they would love to have gotten one of those games. But at the same time, hey, we're basically bringing everyone back again. Not that the season's over, but it's good things to build on for moving forward the rest of the year and also for your future, too.
What is the path to the postseason
For them?
For this team?
For them, they need to finish and to be really safe, top 5 in the Southeast region.
Okay.
The Southeast takes 6 teams, but with auto bids and stuff like that, it gets messy then. So really, to be safe, you want to be top 5, really maybe even top 4 too. So right now they're 4th in the Southeast. So they're still locked in and going to national.
Not a lot of wiggle room, though.
Yeah.
Not a lot of wiggle room.
All right.
All right, they're off until early February. They take on Lawrence Tech, which is number 2 in the Central, so that'd be a huge test for them.
Yes.
All right. Well, best of luck to the ladies. Annie, good to have you on the show. You'll be back next week, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to see this face some more. Okay, Annie, Corey, join us the rest of the year. For Pat and Kerr, I'm Rhett McGibbon. We'll see you next week on Rock the Rink.